First of all, I would like to thank you all for coming out tonight. You managed to find the room in spite of the difficulties. I'm here, my name is Imelvin Upshaw. I'm representing the Muslim Students Association of Iowa State University. This evening, our lecture will be about Islamic fundamentalism, myth versus reality. Recently, there are many events which have caused the media to focus upon this concept of Islamic fundamentalism. So these things include the World Trade Center, Bosnia, and many other issues. But this term has been used throughout the media plenty of times, and therefore we thought that it was necessary that we provide a lecture on this subject. Also, our speaker tonight will be Imam Siraj Wahaj. He is the Imam of Masjid al-Taqwa in Brooklyn, New York. He's the vice president of Majlis Ashura of New York, that is the Council of Imams in New York. He is also a member of the Majlis Ashura in ISNA, that is the Council of Imams in the Islamic Society of North America. In addition to this, he's had several speaking engagements at very prominent locations. He was also the first Muslim to have the invocation in the US Congress, and he was also the leader of a successful anti-drug program in Brooklyn in which they closed down 15 crack houses. So without further delay, I'll bring upon our speaker. Hopefully our speaker will speak for approximately 50 minutes, and after this we'll have a question and answer session. So, Imam Siraj Wahaj.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهد الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له نشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد. For those who speak English, don't worry, tonight's lecture will be in English. I just opened with a traditional Muslim opening, and there's a lot of wisdom in it. Actually, I begin by saying, in the name of Allah. And that should be comforting for you as an audience, because you know that the speaker tonight, myself, Siraj Wahaj, won't be giving you of himself, because you don't need that. You want to know the Islamic position, because think of it. I really mean nothing tonight. You came here tonight because you wanted to get a good understanding of this thing called Islamic fundamentalism. I pray to Allah tonight that it can be educational for all of us. And whenever I speak to an audience that is composed of both Muslims and non-Muslims, I try my best to talk to everybody. There's a tendency when there's a mixed audience, Muslim speakers, they either ignore the Muslims who are in the audience or ignore the non-Muslims. I hope that I can do justice tonight to both of you who've come, and hopefully we will learn something. Before I begin this topic, I want to share with you an experience that happened to me about 8 months ago. I was in the airport in Los Angeles, and I was sitting in the plane, waiting for the plane to take off. And I was sitting on the aisle seat. And as I was sitting there reading, a woman came on the plane, European American, white, and she had a luggage. She came to me and excused me. She wanted to sit down in the seat next to me, next to the window. So I moved in and, I allowed her to sit, and I sat down reading. Now, as I was reading, my peripheral vision showed me that she was looking around. And I said to myself, she's going to change her seat. I know it. Sure enough, she got up and she took her baggage and said, "Excuse me for a moment." So I watched her. She walked to the front of the plane and she crossed the other side and she took another seat. I said, "No problem. I have more space. I can read my books, no problem." So I'm sitting here reading. And a few moments later, another woman comes, European American, a younger woman, and she sits down next to me. And she started looking around. I said, "Oh no, this has never happened to me before." So she said, "Excuse me," and she got off the plane. Now I must admit, first thing I had to check myself and make sure that I was okay. I was okay. And you know, brothers and sisters, I did an analysis why I think these women changed their seat. The next week, I was in Ottawa, Canada, and I had spoken at a Muslim group meeting, and they had given me an award. The Muslims had given me an award. Now, on my way back to New York City, I went to the airport. Now, when you go to a foreign country, there's three entities that you have to pass. You have to pass security, customs, and immigration, right? Now here I am walking, and I went past security, no problem. Customs, no problem. Immigration, the man looked at me, and he looked at my award. He stepped back 20 feet and said, "What is that, a bomb?" Now, brothers and sisters, let's think about it. Why would that be a bomb? Question, statement. Either this man was joking or he was serious. Let's say he was joking. What would happen if Brother Siraj went to an airport and told the security, "This is a bomb, I'm just joking"? What do you think they would do? They would arrest me. You know why? You can't joke like that. Because it's not funny. Not that. So if this man is serious, why might he think that I was carrying a bomb? Could it be that I looked like an Islamic fundamentalist? But what is that? Because I have a beard? Because I have a funny cap? Because my clothing is strange? Could it be that these women on the plane felt uneasy because perhaps I looked like an Islamic fundamentalist? Now, brothers and sisters, I'm going to make a confession. You ready for the confession? I'm a Muslim fundamentalist. Well, what's the matter? I'm going to make another confession. I'm definitely not a Muslim fundamentalist. Well, Brother Siraj, how can you be and not be? It's easy. It all depends on your definition of Muslim fundamentalists. Tonight, I'm going to try to show you that there are people who use the term Islamic fundamentalists as a catchword to elicit an emotional response from the masses of the people. Ask you a question. When you think of Muslim fundamentalists, what comes to your mind? Anyone? Somebody? Huh? A man with a beard. What comes to your mind? Islamic fundamentalists? Anyone? Huh? Wearing, niqab, a woman covering her face. What else? Huh? Terrorism. Anything else? Yes. You think I'm a good? Do you really think of as a good Muslim when you hear the word?
Someone who follows Quran and Hadith.
So that's very good. Now, according to this brother's definition, I am an Islamic fundamentalist. But according to the one who said terrorism, I'm not that. Now, brothers and sisters, let me first make this point. There is no such thing in Islamic vocabulary as an Islamic fundamentalist. No such thing. If you look at the source of Islam, there are two major sources. One is Al-Quran, the book of guidance. And you will never see such term in 1400 years, never the term Islamic fundamentalist. Second source is the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. In all of the traditions, if you look in Al-Bukhari, Muslim, Tirmidhi, Abu Dawood, Ibn Majah, Nisa'i, these are different narrators of the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, you never see the term Islamic fundamentalism or Islamic fundamentalist. So where did the term come from? If you do your research, you will find out that fundamentalism was a term in the 20th century speaking about Christians, specifically Protestants, who had a movement that believed in the literal translation of the Bible. They called them fundamentalists, Protestant fundamentalists. So Muslims don't have such a meaning. But some people use the word Islamic fundamentalism as a euphemism for terrorism. Now, I watched a program about 7-8 months ago on TV. It's called the American Defense Monitor. Anyone ever seen that program? American Defense Monitor. This program talked about the ending of the Cold War. And with the demise of the Soviet Union and the end of communism, there was a need, some felt, in a new enemy. It was said by some of the American government that the new enemy is Islamic fundamentalism. It's interesting that they didn't say Islam was the new enemy, but they said Islamic fundamentalism. Tonight we're going to try to explore why, what the word means, what it's intended to do to the masses of the people in America and around the world, and why. I brought some books here that I'm going to recommend for you to take a look at. Brothers and sisters, if you mean by fundamentalists a person who goes back to the foundation of their belief, the fundamentals of their belief, then Islamic fundamentalism is a good term. And I am that, and the majority of us are in fact that. If you mean by it terrorists, then we are not that. Are there Muslim terrorists in the world? Yes, there are. Are there Christian terrorists in the world? Yes, there are. Are there Jewish terrorists in the world? Yes, there are. But you don't define Judaism and Christianity nor Islam as terrorists. You talk about the good and the bad of all of them. I would like to quote for you the basis of my discussion tonight. It is a verse found in the Quran, and this is going to be the essence of our discussion tonight. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. I seek refuge with Allah from the rejected devil or shaitan. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful. Ya ayyuhalladhina aminu. O you who believe. Ati'ullah wa ati'ur Rasul. Obey Allah and obey the Messenger. Wa ulli amra minkum, and those charged with authority over you. فإن تنازعتم في شيء فردوه إلى الله ورسوله إن كنتم تؤمنون بالله ويوم الآخر. But if you differ with those charged with authority among you, then refer it back to Allah and the messenger if it is you believe in Allah and the last day. This verse from the Quran is critical. You know why? Because in the final analysis, Islam is not what Brother Siraj said Islam is. But Islam is defined by Allah Himself in the Quran and the words of His messenger Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. That means if you're going to judge any leader or any Muslim in this world, how you judge the authenticity of what they say and what they do is that you got to refer back to the Quran or the traditions of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. This is critical. Second point. There are Muslims who read the Quran and they may read the same verse, yet get different interpretations. The question is, how then do we interpret this book of guidance called the Quran? Should it be left to the imagination of every one of us? We believe the best translator of the Quran or the interpreter of the Quran is Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. Why? Because Allah revealed the Quran to him in order to explain to us the meanings in it. So the next verse in the Quran that's going to be the basis of my discussion with you today, and believe me, I want some interaction, is this verse, very important verse in the Quran. Allah says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. You have in the messenger of Allah, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, a beautiful example. So if you're going to look and judge any Islamic leader, then that leader must be judged according to the personality and the character of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, because he is our leader. There's one thing all Muslims have in common. All of us agree that our leader is Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. No Muslim would disagree with that. Now, brothers and sisters, is there a plot against Islam? Why do we read so much in the newspaper negative things about Islam? Everywhere you turn around, something negative, Islamic fundamentalists, to such a degree that many Americans are turned off by Muslims and Islam, and some of them don't even know why, and when they see fundamentalism, they become frightened. And many Americans are, in fact, afraid of Islam. I call your attention to this book called Target America, Terrorism in the United States Today, written by a man named Joseph Bodansky. You get an opportunity, you can either pick the book up or you can take a look at it here, and you might want to pick it up. But in this book, some 400 and something pages basically against Islam and trying to depict Muslims as being terrorists and a plot to overthrow America. I ask you, Americans, should you fear Islam? Should you fear Muslims? Let me give you a few facts, first of all. There are over 1 billion Muslims on this earth. Depending upon your source, some say 921 million, some say 1 billion, some say 1,300,000 million Muslims. There's a lot of Muslims. And contrary to what most people believe, Muslims are not only found in the Arab world. You find Muslims in every part of the globe, every country, you find Muslims. I was shocked when I went to Great Britain to see how many Muslims in London. Some sections in London, you see so many signs of Muslim dress, Muslim businesses, everywhere. I believe in Belgium, some 10% of the population Muslims. In America, there are between 6 and 8 million Muslims. You may not know this. I come from the city of New York. Over 100 masjids or mosques in New York City. 8 full-time Muslim schools. Thousands of Muslim businesses. Muslim professors, Muslim business people. Everywhere you look, Muslims and Islam. 800,000 Muslims in New York City. Last year, the mayor of New York City signed into law the 2 Muslim holidays, the Eid al-Fitr wal-Adha, are official holidays in New York City. Islam is growing, and you know what? Whether you like Muslims or not, whether you understand Muslims or not, everybody in this school and in this city and in this country, one way or the other, will be affected by Muslims, either nationally, locally, or internationally. I say today that rather than be afraid of the Muslims, better to understand the Muslims and ask ourselves the question, how can we cooperate, Muslims, Christians, and Jews together in this country? Now, brothers and sisters, I know some of you don't like the idea of conspiracies. We don't like that. But I want to give you some things to consider. Did you read lately? I don't know if you got it, the news in Iowa. I assume that you did. But we found out about 2 weeks ago that during the 1960s and 1950s and 1960s, that the United States government experimented with American citizens, especially New York City, using radiation against their will. Did you hear about that? Okay. You say it happened in the 60s. It happened in the 50s. Could it be happening now? Could it be that American doctors or the government is experimenting on the American people? Is it possible? You don't think so? Consider this. Book number 2. This is one of the most interesting books I've ever read in my life. I really highly recommend that you get it. It's called The Judas Factor, The Plot to Kill Malcolm X. The Judas Factor, The Plot to Kill Malcolm X. Written by a man named Carl, K-A-R-L, Evans, E-V-A-N-Z-Z. Carl Evans. You have to get it. I don't see nobody writing it down. No, you have to get it. Believe me, you must get this book. Carl Evans did some research. He examined over 300,000 declassified memos from the FBI and the CIA. These are from the files of the government themselves. You know, you can write the government, Freedom of Information Act, and get certain files that were written about you from the government. Interesting book. How many of you have ever heard a term called COINTELPRO, Counter-Intelligence Program? Raise your hand if you heard of it. Okay. This was a program set up by the FBI Director, J. Edgar Hoover. He wrote a memo to the FBI expressing the purpose of this counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO. He said, it is to stop the rise of a Messiah. J. Edgar Hoover was concerned about the activities of certain black, especially black groups and other groups, so-called left-wing, right-wing groups in the United States of America, and he was concerned about them. So many Americans were under surveillance, constant, including Martin Luther King, by the way. and others that we consider nonviolence. And everybody agrees the philosophy of Martin Luther King was nonviolence. But anyway, J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI did an analysis of the ones that they would be afraid of most in this country. Two people they mentioned who might be this Messiah, who have the ability to electrify the people and to unite the masses of the people. One, they said, was Malcolm X. When this memo was written, Malcolm X was assassinated. Already had been assassinated. And J. Edgar Hoover said Malcolm X could have been such a leader or such a Messiah, but he is the martyr of the movement today. Then he said, Martin Luther King can well be that one if he would give up his nonviolent teachings, so to speak. Martin Luther King was assassinated less than 30 days after that memo. It is no accident, I believe, that Malcolm X was assassinated short of his 40th birthday. Martin Luther King was assassinated short of his 40th birthday. What does it mean? If you study the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, you will see that he became a prophet at the age of 40. A man reaches his full strength at the age of 40. Is it possible that there's somebody afraid of a man like Malcolm X who had evolved into a Muslim and Martin Luther King? Is it possible? Brothers and sisters, consider this. If some elements of the government believe that Muslim fundamentalists are the enemies, how then does that relate to other Muslims? The United States government is not afraid of Muslims practicing Islam, meaning praying and fasting. They're not concerned about that. Can I tell you what they are concerned about? They're concerned about the political and the economic implications of being a Muslim. Well, what do you mean? You know, I gave a lecture at the University of Michigan. During the question and answer period, there was a Jewish professor, a woman in the back. And she said, Imam Wahaj, let me ask you a question. She said, what would happen if the Muslims in America become a majority of the population? Would you then legislate in the law the Islamic Sharia? Would you vote for a change in American law so that the laws of the Quran could be the law of the land? This was an indicator of this woman that she was thinking about implications. Brothers and sisters, people in power study trends. What's the trend? Would you be frightened, for instance, if I told you by the year 2025 that there would be 25 million Muslims in America? How does it make you feel? 25 million Muslims in America? What if I told you by the year 2575, 50 million Muslims in America? How does that make you feel? Are you frightened? Are you elated? Are you happy? She's happy. How does it make you feel? Now, brothers and sisters, what I'd like to do tonight for the next few moments is to show you why I really believe that Muslims in this country, in this city, in this university, actually represents a blessing for this university, for this city, and for this country. Muslims in this country absolutely represents a blessing and nothing to fear. You know, right now in South Africa, there's a change of government taking place. All the years of white rulership is about to change, and now black people, Africans, are getting involved in the government. I was in South Africa. Some whites in South Africa, they accept it. Others do not. Some will never accept it. Some will fight to the bitter end. You know why? Because it's a matter of power. Does anybody read the Wall Street Journal? Yeah. By the way, the most read newspaper in America is the Wall Street Journal. If I was you, I would read it. Does anyone read the New York Times? Read the business section? You know what? I do. Remember the war in the Persian Gulf? The United States government was involved. Somebody can get that for me. The United States government was involved. Remember 1990? Saddam Hussein attacked Kuwait. President Bush came on and saying how we are going to defend the people of Kuwait and our friends in Saudi Arabia. Wasn't it nice how President Bush protected the Kuwaitis and the Saudis because he loved them? Wasn't that real nice? I'm so happy the president has such concern about the people in Kuwait and the Muslims in Saudi Arabia. We ought to be happy, right? Does anyone really believe that? Brothers and sisters, let me tell you something about our government. I'm going to put the best construction on our government. This government, the United States of America, does things not always because it's morally right, but that is politically and economically expedient. In the name of national security, this government makes moves in the name of national security. I'll give you an example. The war in the Persian Gulf. A perfect example. It was done to protect the oil in the Persian Gulf. I asked you before, do you read the Wall Street Journal? You said yes, and you said you read the New York Times business section sometimes. Can anyone tell me, maybe you can, sir, the price now of a barrel of oil from Saudi Arabia? Does anyone tell me? Huh? How much? $15. As last week, $14.10 a barrel as of today. Price of oil going down. OPEC produces so many, I think, how many billions of barrels of oil a day. And many of the Western nations use the oil produced by the so-called OPEC nations, headed by Saudi Arabia and Kuwait and the countries in the Persian Gulf. Now, this country practices a free market system. I'm going to ask you a question, intelligent audience. What do you think would happen, brothers and sisters, if King Fahd And by the way, King Fahd in Saudi Arabia is considered a moderate nation according to the United States government, right? It's a moderate Muslim nation. That's what they call it, right? Am I right? Okay. They're friends. The government of Saudi Arabia is friends with the United States government. Everybody knows that. Come on, let's be honest. Everybody knows that, right? What do you think if King Fahd woke up one day and said, you know what? I think I'm going to raise the price of oil. Instead of getting $14.10 a barrel, I think we're going to charge $35 a barrel. Yeah, it's $35, yeah, no, $40 a barrel. Yeah, $40 a barrel, and we can increase the wealth, and we can do so many wonderful things. We can build masjids and mosques, and we can build schools, and we can give to the poor Muslim nations. Let me ask you a question. If he did that, how do you think Uncle Sam would react? You think they'd say, oh, shucks, man, we gotta pay $40 a barrel. Do you think that would happen? Do you think that would happen? Guess what? It wouldn't. You know why? Because this country must act according to its national security. And believe me, there's already a plan in place right now. If one day King Fahd decides to turn, you don't believe me, do you? You think I'm making it up, right? Saddam Hussein was a friend of the United States government right before he attacked Kuwait. And guess what? The United States government knew about all the atrocities that he had committed. They knew about all of them. In fact, they helped him do it. But when Saddam Hussein changed on America and now began to talk about independent politics, Uncle Sam didn't like that, and they had to get him out the way. Did you notice before the United States government, before President Bush attacked Saddam Hussein, many of the nations in the world was trying to say, let's deal with it, we can deal with it politically. And Bush, President Bush, would not give Saddam Hussein a chance to get out of it. You know why? Because they had a plan in mind to control the resources of this earth. Now, brothers and sisters, I know I'm saying a lot, but I'm going to try to tie this all together. Just a few moments. I'm trying to say today that there are some people, some forces in this country that want to make the American people look at Muslims as boogeymen, as bad people, as demons, as evil people. And it's working. Many Americans feel that way because of what the media has projected about this Islamic fundamentalism and Muslims being terrorists. The question is, why? What is the motive? Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَلُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. Every deed is by a motive. And when people do things, there's a motive behind it. They do it for a reason to get something. And so therefore, when you study this country, history reveals that many things that's done by the government is done in such a way as to get something, some kind of material, some kind of substance. One of the saddest times in the history of American Muslims, in my opinion, was 1924. 1924 was a sad day because in 1974 ended the Khilafah. The Khilafah. You heard the word Khalifa. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, said 1400 years ago, La nabiyya ba'di. There will be no prophet after me. There will be Khalifas. The first Khalifa after Prophet Muhammad was his good friend Abu Bakr. After him, Umar, radiallahu anh. After him, Uthman, and then Ali. These men were so powerful. They were not prophets, They didn't get divine revelation because divine revelation ended with Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, 1400 years ago. Never a prophet to come after him. Prophets before him, yes, Jesus, Abraham, Moses, yes, great prophets before him, but we believe never a prophet to come after Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. This Khalifa wasn't over just the Arabs, but the Khalifa would be the leader of the Muslim Ummah or nation. Where's the Muslim nation? You say there's 45 different Muslim nations. No. There's one Muslim nation. Allah revealed in the Quran, إِنَّ هَذِهِ أُمَّتُكُمْ أُمَّةً وَاحِدَةً وَأَنَا رَبُّكُمْ فَاعْبُدُونَ. This ummah of yours, this nation of yours is one nation, and I am your Lord, I am your God, therefore worship me. Brothers and sisters, you know what? You know where it's supposed to be? That no matter where a Muslim is, in China, in Japan, in the Middle East, in Africa, in Europe, in America, wherever they are, they're supposed to be one ummah. I don't care if their skin is black or their skin is white. They're supposed to be one ummah. I told you earlier in my beginning that we believe in this book. Allah the Almighty revealed in the Quran, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً. The believers are brothers. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm going to make a confession. And this guy stay here. Are you ready? This is between us. It doesn't leave here. Years ago, me, Siraj Wahaj, used to be a racist. I used to think, I used to believe that all white people were devils. But guess what? When I became a real Muslim, I read one verse in the Quran, and you know what? It changed me around. Listen to what it says. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الناس, O mankind, إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى. We, Allah, created you from male and female. وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارُفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. And we, Allah, made you into nations and tribes in order that you may know one another. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah are those who are most righteous. And with this, my racism went out the door. And you know, brothers and sisters, I tell you the truth. I have friends all over the earth. In Nigeria, there's a brother who's very dear to me, a sheikh, and his skin is as black as night. And I love him dearly. I have a Muslim in Bosnia that I know whose skin is white, and I love him dearly. I went to Turkey and visited my Muslim brothers and sisters in Turkey. I love them. I have a Muslim friend named Muhammad from China, a good friend of mine. Muslims in South Africa, I've been there. Good friends of mine. I met recently a Muslim in Vietnam. Beautiful brother. Beautiful sisters. Yusuf Islam, formerly Cat Stevens, the European former pop singer, a good friend of mine. I went to Sudan and met Hassan Turabi and other great Muslims in the black nation of Sudan and good friends of mine everywhere. And you know what? I tell you the truth. It doesn't make me a difference the color of your skin or your gender. This is silly because all of us, as the Prophet Muhammad said, are from Adam, and Adam was from the dust of the earth. You know, I went to South Africa and I had visited some Muslims there, and I had gone to a meeting with the Muslim Medical Association. And when I came out of the office, I walked past this huge poster that had the Prophet Muhammad's final sermon. And I walked past it, I glimpsed at it, and I walked past it. And I said, wait a minute, I know that speech because I'm familiar with Prophet Muhammad's final sermon. And I turned back and I looked at it and I read it and I said, you know what? It's in South Africa, right? I said, something is missing from that speech. There's some lines are taken out. And I examined it closely. And you know what line